Okay, so today I'm with my friend Ryan. Thank you for being here today. So Ryan, up until recently you ran a family cafe in your local suburb, and like most small businesses of today, one can assume that social media played some part in your success and exposure of your business. So first off, in the hospitality industry, why do you think it's important to be active on social media, and do you think it is crucial to stay relevant?
Yes, it's very important because you only have one street frontage that your local community sees, so you want to broaden your customer basis and you want to get out there, so you need to use social media to bring customers from all over the place. So that was the most important part for us.
Yep.
And
what sort of struggles did you have early on? Did they persist, or did you end up overcoming them? So in other words, what was the hardest thing in terms of starting from scratch on social media and trying to get a customer base from an online perspective?
Like, people want to see your reputation, and you don't have a name behind you of a celebrity chef at the start, so
Sure.
They're just going off just photos, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, sure. And so just in relation to that, so one of the main issues of social media today is that there are a lot of celebrity presence online, and so, one would argue that it minimises small users such as business owners like yourself who are trying to make a name for themselves, because the celebrities and the politicians of the world are very heavily involved in social media and what it involves in. So what would you so in your opinion, do you think there's still a place for small businesses on social media, or do you think they're outdone by bigger presences online?
I think it's important to work together with those people. Sometimes you have to pay them, but at the end of the day, when those people come into your business, for example, when Steph Smith came into our business and she posted a photo of our meal, it went out to 1 million people. So I think it's actually works quite well,
Sure.
Especially with food, because all these celebrities like to dine out, and yes, some of them are paid, but some of them just choose to come and they want to take a photo because your dish looks good and they want people to see it. So I think it's quite helpful, but then again, they can also have a big impact if they don't enjoy something because they've got that many followers.
Yeah, sure. And just a last question to follow up. Where do you see social media in the next 10 years, not just from a hospitality standpoint, but also just in general?
I personally think that it's in some way roots on social media, but also we need social media, and I think we need more reviews, just not about the food, about the whole venue itself, and yeah.
Thank you very much. Now, very interesting information there. Well, thank you for your time, and all the best for your future endeavours.
Thank you.
So, welcome, David.
Hello, Mark.
Thank you for taking the time to sit down with me, as I'm sure you're quite busy. So I'm just going to ask you a few questions based around social media, and particularly how it's increasingly being inundated with celebrity and political influence, and just to see whether the small guys, being small business owners like yourself, could still make a notable contribution on social media platforms. So before we get into the specifics, tell us briefly about your business, what it's called, what you sell, and how long it's been running for.
So my business is called 119 Street, and it's just a streetwear label. I've been doing that it's come up to a couple of years now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool. And since starting your business, what have you found to be the biggest challenge in terms of advertising on social media, which, as I'm aware, is the only platform you use for advertising?
Probably the biggest challenge is gaining credibility amongst customers, because such a saturated platform, so many people are making their own businesses through social media. It's hard to gain trust amongst customers, to sort of extract yourself from that whole batch that everyone's doing. It's hard to extract yourself from that bracket.
Sure.
So that's probably been the biggest challenge, is gaining trust and credibility amongst customers.
And just spanning off from that, out of the social media outlets, what do you use to advertise on? As far as I'm aware, you only use Instagram. You don't have a Facebook account. Yeah. Why have you chosen Instagram as your primary sort of domain as opposed to Facebook?
I think Instagram is a lot more specific for your target audience. I think Facebook is so saturated, cluttered with irrelevant content, just like memes. It's sort of I don't think Facebook's an appropriate platform to target the specific audience. Like even like sports updates, like sports highlights. Yeah, it's just all like irrelevant content. I think that on Instagram you can target your target audience much more accurate. I think it's a more accurate platform.
So do you think social media over the years has made it increasingly hard for business owners like yourself to make a name for themselves online? In terms of, I know that in these days there are a lot of people who have social media purely just to keep up with celebrity news, tabloid sport, as you mentioned. So do you think things like this, in terms of how people are using it just to sort of keep up with these sort of things, make it hard to sort of for you to infiltrate that sort of market?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a distraction, because like we said, like celebrities and powerhouse industries like Nike, Adidas, they've sort of taken over the net and just overpowering all social media platforms. I think that does make it difficult, but I think you just have to stay what's relevant to you and target the specific audience that's relevant to your brand and your and what you sell and the work you produce. So it does make it hard, but I think you can definitely get around it, I think.
So just the last question to finish off, Dave. So where do you see social media in the next 10 years? Do you think it'll still be heavily dominated by celebrity influence, as we were discussing, or do you think the line of progression, if you will, where it's going now, where people sort of still want that large corporation impact on their feeds, or do you think it'll retract to what it once was when social media first came into existence, in terms of purely just to connect with one's actual real friend, as opposed to sort of the fake personalities that there are online, if you will?
I think it's sort of hard to see that celebrity influence dying down. I think that even with like platforms like Snapchat and stuff like that, I think it's just being pushed on us more and more, that I think people sort of crave that sort of like high corporation content. I think eventually in the future, like I think it will be overpowered by like free thinkers, sort of independent sort of minds, but for the foreseeable future I can't really see it. I still see the higher ups sort of not controlling but overpowering content online, but I do think eventually independent sort of thinkers will be taken over. So yeah.
Okay. Well, Dave, thanks once again for being with me for this interview, and all the best with your future endeavours.
Nice.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Mark.